Welcome back to On the Fly podcast, a Financial Literacy Institute podcast. Man, I'm not gonna lie, it's been kind of a while since I've been on a couple episodes. I know Zach and Sean, you guys been having some unique episodes. I know Zach just had an amazing episode with his wife. That was an amazing episode we dropped on Valentine's Day. Super excited to kind of hear a lot of feedback from that. I already know I've been sharing around with some people because again, very homely episode. It's very nice. Again, the dichotomy between money and marriage. But nonetheless, tonight amazing guest. Again, another guy from the Standard. You know, he's killing it. He's thriving in it. But what's unique about this guy, he's actually committed to the mission that FLI is committed to, which again is teaching the financial literacy skills that we didn't learn in school, but on his unique and in his unique way, and the way he does it. And I love and I appreciate that my guy was able to hop on tonight because we're going to have an amazing conversation. I'm excited to hear, the story of why he did it, how he's doing it, and maybe like his future goals, right? So without further ado, we got Mr. Eric Johnson from In the Smoker. My guy, how are you doing this evening?
What's going on, fellas? I want to thank y'all for having me here tonight. I'm excited.
Of course.
I know you guys been working hard on the show, and I know we're gonna have some great conversations. It's not all the time that you get to meet some people who like doing the same thing you do. So
That's true.
that conversation gets a little different when you're doing it because everybody enjoys and can add to the conversation. So I think tonight not only be good for us, but whoever's listening, I think they'll gain a lot from it as well.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. And again, I was just telling Eric prior to recording is that we have a lot of amazing guests lined up for you guys. So hopefully you guys are staying tuned because, I mean, Eric's kicking us off. Again, we aren't coining this as a series, but if we told you the kind of people we have on, I mean, Eric's one of the first. You know he's going to set the bar. It's going to be awesome. And, again, all this is really just to try to get all this information out there because we do care and we love this. And again, this is our purpose and our passion. So again, Eric, we appreciate you. But yeah, Sean and Zach, how are you guys doing?
Life is good. I'm getting into the midst of work travel season. So was in Atlanta last week. My boss and my other coworker are down in Arizona this week. I'll be in Atlanta next week. So it's a lot of trips going on, just trying to keep everything on track with work and with my businesses and with FLI too. So life is good. A lot going on, but life is good.
I love to hear. Love
Same
to hear.
here. Staying busy, staying productive, getting into tax season, so making sure I got all of my taxes and
Mm.
expenses all in line. But otherwise, I'm living the married life. I'm happy,
True.
and life is good.
Yeah. No, I love that. Again, Zach just mentioned he's living that married life. We just dropped an amazing podcast with him and his wife. Make sure you go check that out. But yeah, no, this evening, again, great podcast coming up. And really just to kick it off, I'm excited to hear a little more about you, Eric Johnson. Because again, like I mentioned prior to our call, this is actually our first time actually hopping on the phone, even though it's a recorded podcast. It's going to be awesome. I want to know a little bit more about you because again, I've been studying you, looking at your Instagram, looking at your website. I know our preliminary conversation back in October. It was when I was on the Phoenix experience trip for the Standard. And then I remember, if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken, I think it was Ryan Barker. No, I think it was Jamal. I think it was Jamal Dutton. Jamal hit me up with like, hey, there's another amazing guy in the Standard doing exactly what you guys are doing with FLI. You guys should connect and hit him up. I was like, oh, 100%. Send him my way or send me his way. And he connected me with you. We were kind of doing some conversations. I was looking at your website. I was like, wow, this dude's killing it. I was like, this man has an ebook. He has his courses. He has his story. Like, this man is killing it, right? But I was like, oh man, I would love to hop on a phone with him. But then I understand, busy understands busy. I know you're in the smoker. My guy's
Yeah.
cooking, right?
Yeah.
So it's gonna be awesome to kind of get you to know a little more about you tonight. But yeah, really, whatever you can tell, whatever you want to share with our listeners and myself and us, kind of let us know a little more about who Eric Johnson is.
Cool. So I'll start with my background and then we can go from there. So I'm
Yeah.
originally from Fayetteville, North Carolina. So anybody that's familiar with J. Cole, that's where I'm from.
Okay.
I went to the United States Naval Academy to play football. And while there, I majored in robotics and control system engineering. After that, I commissioned into the Marine Corps and went first duty station was in Okinawa. I served as a combat
Oh,
engineer
wow.
officer, 5 deployments. Um, it was a great time. I really enjoyed being in the military. I got to travel and see things, and I think one of the biggest things for me that I got, post military service, I got out in July of 2021 as a captain. Um, I've been to some countries and some places that I saw people were very happy with
Yeah.
less than a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And so
Mhm.
it gave me a lot of perspective and made me very thankful for what I had back at home, which kind of it helped curb the want. in me. So that was, you always desire like, oh, I gotta have the bigger, better thing. But it's like, nah, I mean, they're happy with, and they're living in literal stone huts, and I have a full house that I'm there. Like, what am I complaining about? Like, it made me look at things differently, which ultimately helps push towards the goals of business and life and relationships and all of these other things. But so during my Marine Corps service, I also started in the Smoker Lifestyle LLC, and now that's I have in the Smoker Financial Coaching, and I guess that built into in the Smoker. So I know you mentioned something about trying to figure out how I came up with the name. So
yeah,
my first book that I put out, the In the Smoker Mindset, it actually talks about that. So the idea or the thought process behind In the Smoker itself is as people know me, what I like to put into my content, what you all see is I like to cook. So if you see my content enough, you see I like to cook.
big
One of the
grill man.
Oh yeah, and one of my favorite things to do is, of course, smoke stuff. Ribs, pork butts, briskets. If it can go in the smoker, I'm gonna put it in the smoker.
Yes, sir.
So, but through doing that so much, I kind of drew a kind of cool parallel between the process of smoking meat and growing as a person. So, I kind of equate your seasonings to your habits, and you got to add different amounts of seasonings to build a flavor profile, just like you need to work on certain habits to build a certain mission or goal or get to a specific goal, right? So now you have your habits, like your seasonings, you mix them together, put it on the meat. Well, we're like the raw meat, so we have to build that flavor profile for ourselves.
Yeah.
And then once we've done that, now we go into the smoker, which is probably the most important part, because anyone that's familiar with the smoker, it takes hours to cook thing, and it can take a couple of days depending on what you're cooking. So the same concept applies to life. A lot of things that we try to do may not happen overnight. It might take time. So In the Smoker likes to emphasize with people that it's okay for that time to happen, because during that time, just like with the meat, is breaking down all the tough stuff, all the enzyme, the things that's not going to be beneficial for you to consume. And then once the meat comes out, or the smoker, just like you come out of the smoker, now you not only are you fully prepared, but you're also able to provide sustenance to other people.
That's good. I can only imagine how many times people have asked you why you call your business In the Smoker. But when I understand now the story behind it, and I love the uniqueness, I can only again imagine how excited you get when you explain it, because I can see it right there, right? And I appreciate that. It's so unique, and I love that. And that's so true. All those parallels. Even though I'm not a big grill master myself, I'm originally from Minnesota. It's winter, 11 months out of the 12. When it is that 1 month, I do appreciate getting out there and grilling. But no, I love those parallels, and yes, I've been seeing on the Instagram stories all your cooking. So that's awesome. I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot.
Too. I've never heard someone have a parallel like that, from smoking meat to how like our personal development goes. So that was awesome. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, it's very unique. And, a question now that has derived from that is, again, it sounds like you have an amazing background. You've been killing it, slaying it. My guy is leveling up in all certain types of ways. My question is now, in terms of, where and what In the Smoker has become, why? Because it sounds like and from what I see in your Instagram, which is a beautiful thing, right? Because all these things are interrelated. It's kind of a little more than just personal finance. It's a focus on personal finance, but it's fitness, it's mindset, it's kind of lifestyle, which is really cool. And I like that, right? But the focus, if I'm not mistaken, obviously you can correct me on this, I think it's personal finance, right? So my question now is why, where did that focus derive from? Why personal finance?
So here's why. So you're correct. In the Smoker, brand wise, covers everything, and I'm gonna get to that. But
okay.
the reason that so let's get back to what was the first question again?
Yeah, so my question was, again, even though in the Smoker, it seems like it's a lifestyle, right? Your focus was personal finance. So why personal finance? What's the drive?
All right. So really what it is during my Marine Corps service, I had the opportunity to lead a lot of Marines. So my last billet or job that I filled, I was an H&S company commander, and I was in charge of 342 Marines with 52 MOS responsibilities. So it was a lot going on, but because I was, before that I was a platoon commander, I'm always in a staff position over Marines. So I got to interact with a lot of Marines. And one thing about the military, it's a very micro depiction of the real world. And and especially the Marine Corps, where the Marine Corps is one of the smallest organizations within the military. So when you look at that, and then I noticed the vast number of young Marines that had financial issues. You know, there's payday loans coming back. Hey, you didn't pay it. Now they're at 29.99% interest. There's Marines going to these places off base to get vehicles, and they're tied up with 18% interest on vehicles. They're living in houses that's 70% of their monthly income. You know, so like they're just making decision after decision that was bad. But there was a lot of things coming, and honestly, at the time, I didn't understand either. But as a leader, my job not only was to, tell them what to do, but I was responsible for their whole life. Like, I'm there to make sure you're good. So as a leader, I was like, well, in order for me to help my Marines the most, I have to start learning what this stuff is. So I started doing a lot of research, learning, and then through my research and learning, I started having conversations with my friends outside of the military. Hey, do you know what this is? Do you know what that is? And they would, nah, what are you talking about? And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So like, I'm starting to see a bigger problem. So then me, being a athlete, being in the military, coaching is it comes the kind of second nature. So I was like, I wonder if people coach people in their finances, because I sit down and I work with my Marines, and I, doing a bunch of research, ended up finding a Dave Ramsey certification course.
Oh, wow. That's
awesome. Took that. And then initially I just started using the training and like my knowledge to train my Marines, because I was in there. I can't charge my Marines, like I'm just taking care of them. But what I could do is, because I was still in the military, I wasn't really in a rush to try to build a business that I needed income, because I was managing my income properly from the Marine Corps. So what that allowed me to do is focus on, trial and error, seeing what the problems really were with the Marines, what were they experiencing, what knowledge do they need, figuring out what processes work. How do I introduce problems to people? How do I look? And it was like, wow, I got a lot of reps with that within there, which then led to, wanting to build the company out to like, wow, we need to do this on a massive scale. I know people, a lot of people at home that grew up from, not great environments, they could use this information. I know people that are making, $150,000 a year that could use this information. Like, it doesn't matter where you sit on a scale, which leads into the next piece is like, one is like all about mindset, right? So it's really education is a big piece, but you can teach someone something all day, but until they have the mentality that that makes them understand why why it matters, and they build the perspective around it, it's going to be hard to get them where they need to be.
Yeah, no, that's good. Oh, go ahead, Zach.
Oh no, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I just double muted myself. Eric, that's a really good point. You have to, I guess a good way to say it is, get someone to hold your hand and I guess jump off the bridge with you. You have to get them to buy into what you're selling. You have to get them to buy in to what you're trying to teach them. I use this a lot when I'm coaching people in golf. Anyone who's coaching someone in anything can walk up to someone and say, hey, you should do this. And sometimes you could even tell them why a little bit. But if you're really good at telling them why, you can get them and build their perspective around where you're coming from. If you can show them why it works exactly, you can show them what they're gonna get in the future from following your advice and finances. Or if my client sees exactly why I'm telling him this certain mechanic is going to work, they're much more likely to stick with it and build that motivation that will allow them to follow through and keep making progress.
Absolutely.
I wanted to touch on that. That's a great point.
Hey, I might have to hit you for some golf lessons too. I like that. I need some golf lessons.
All right, we'll hook you up.
100%. Green is talked about on the green, so 100% Zach is your guy. And oh man, this is good. And I kind of want to go one level deeper, right? And my question is, because again, this is really, really good. I see that there was a void you were trying to fill amongst your mates who were in in your squadron, which I love, right? But then even going a level deeper, right? I think with a lot of people who are successful, and I love, this is one of my new quotes now, even though it's probably not it's not mine, but I'm paraphrasing it. One's success is derived from one's pain, right? I'll say that again. One's success, or one's drive for success is derived from one's pain. That's what it is. One's drive for success is derived from one's pain. And the reason I'm saying that is, just a little quick highlight on me, and even again, I know Zach and Sean can relate to this to some degree, is the reason I wanted to be a part of FLI was that my pain was that there's a lot of like misnomers about personal finance in my household and how I was raised, right? Even with parents who I loved and I would never change the way I was raised and I respect them dearly. They just had such a limited belief on, wealth and becoming wealthy and money, right? That in my mind, I'm like, okay, so if I become wealthy, will I be this, this bad person or this evil person, right? And so I made it a purpose for me to try to change that narrative, try to change that mindset, right? So that pain for me was the drive to my success, which is now, with FLI. So really where I'm going with this is on your level, because I love, again, I think that's the reason why we did form our business. But there was a level before the business that was more on a personal level. And that's the question I'm getting at is, what was that for Eric Johnson on a personal level? Was it before you serving? Was it in the middle of you serving? What was that for you personally?
So are you asking what drove me to want to take personal finance seriously?
Exactly, right? Because I love that you wanted to now teach your brethren. I love that. And I think that's exactly what we all do now to a business level. I love. But then if you peel it back a layer, it started with Eric. What was that for Eric?
So it was a collection of things. It wasn't all at one time.
Okay.
I'd say that, I was blessed to be, I guess, naturally frugal. I understood that I didn't know necessarily what to do with money, but I knew that I shouldn't waste it. So
I agree to that. Yeah.
Through that, it led me, I got to the Naval Academy, and, I get there as a young guy from Fayetteville, North Carolina, and I'm hearing people talk about stocks, and they're like, oh yeah, dude, I got like, X and X in stocks. And I'm like, what's a stock? And they're like, oh yeah, man, you buy a share of a company, but like I got Apple, and I'm looking, I'm like, bro, you can't buy Apple. Like I know who owns Apple. How you buy it? You ain't. And they're like, whoa, it doesn't work like that. I'm like, whoa. So what else is out here? And then, now granted, I was at the time I never really got a chance to really fully dive into. I was budgeting and like practicing using the budget in college and stuff. But between school, the military, and football, I had zero time to like do anything extracurricular. So when I got stationed in Okinawa, my first unit, I was in there with my OPSO. At the time, Major White, now Lieutenant Colonel White. Shout out to him, great guy. He set me down one day, and it started with, so in the military, we have, it's like similar to a 401k, but it's called a TSP, Thrift Savings Plan. And, when I was in training at TBS, so that's where, lieutenants go for 6 months to get trained in Quantico. And, they had us set it up, but they didn't really walk us through it. So he was like, hey, did you set your stuff up? Oh, yes, sir. My stuff good to go. I'm good. And he's like, really? Well, he was like, what's your, here, well, let's check your stuff to see what you got to go into. And he was like, what's your password? And I was like, password? What you thought? I don't need no password. And he was like, did you, he starts, hey, did you put your mailing address into this place? Did you go to this website? Did you do this? And I'm like, whoa, what? And then so I do it all. They mail me my password, and he walks me through the process. And I realized that throughout that time, because of me not knowing how to properly use the tool, it led to, I realized that if I would have been using it correctly that whole time, I would have had a lot more money at my disposal. Like I would have made a lot more money. So I lost out. My lack of education made me lose out on money. And I realized that, and it was like a click. So I started, I'm like, well, wow. Now that I realized this, I also realized that in the military, my growth was really fixed, right? They own my time. I don't own my time. And which is crucial. I think that's a crucial part of it, because normally you use your money to buy back your time, and then you free them. But so I don't have my time, which means if I don't have my time, I don't have the ability to make more money. Well, in the military, I can go online right now and tell you what I'm going to make in 4 years. So there's no ability to build wealth. So, but I realized that the step before that is, I can't even think about building wealth until I have all, I'm learning how to use all the systems properly within it. How does credit work? How does, how should I be maintaining my money? What are my spending habits? How do I get rid of these habits? How, addressing and so it was a snowball effect forward or upward, that allowed me to, like, piece by piece, I realized that, whoa, this is important. And like, there is a different type of life. Like I remember, growing up, I thought the manager of McDonald's was like, they made it. I was like, wow, oh snap, they're a manager. Like everybody's all excited, oh, they're a manager, and it's like now, with the perspective, because it's all about perspective at the end of the day. And I think through those times, they allowed me to gain perspectives and see what was more. And I guess also it helps seeing it in person from people like, Major White. Like if he never set me down that day, I think I still would have, been doing this, but it would have took longer, right? Because not only there was more obstacles there. I wasn't just figuring this out. I was figuring this out in a different country away from home with nobody that I knew. So it's different stressors, but also being alone also allowed me to figure out, I've learned about places like Vanguard, and index funds, mutual funds. And I'm like, whoa, all this stuff is like, and it's just one thing after another. And it's like, wow. But then it's like, okay, then you start understanding, thinking back to the class, 5 years ago where they were talking about compound interest, and you're like, oh, that's what that is. Yo, I got to get aggressive on this. Like, what am I doing? I've been asleep. And it's like, oh, now all my homies, I got to tell them too. But then, you expect other people to be just excited as you about the ability to get in there. Like, oh, okay, bro, I'm kind of cool. And it's like, oh, whoa, what do you mean?
Yeah.
So
no.
I hope that answered your question.
Oh, 100%. And I got something after Sean. That's good. I can relate so much to that, Eric. Yeah, that's real.
So Eric, too, I've always been fascinated with kind of the dynamic of being a college student, also a college football player, but then also being at the Naval Academy and having that amount of responsibilities too. So I'm really curious, back during your time in college, what did just a regular day in your life look like? Balancing athletics, your military service, and then also academics.
Ooh, that's a great question. Y'all want to hear like just a typical day? All right, so couple background things. So at the academy, the minimum amount of credit hours you can take is 15. I think normally to be full time you got to be 12. The minimum for us is 15. On average, I was taking about 20 to 21 credits a semester. On top of that, you're getting up fairly early. Like it depends on the time of year. But if there's training going on in the morning for football, there's times where you might be getting up 3-4 in the morning to do some things. But most people typically, let's say they get up at, let's just say 06. So they get up at 6 in the morning. You'll PT, you go to breakfast, you have class from, basically, what was it, about 8 o'clock, I think, around 8 o'clock till lunch. That started with like 11. We would get there early. I'd go to team tables for football. So we'd go to our table, we eat. Then lunchtime, everybody else disperses and goes, they get in the room doing whatever, or they have other trainings or classes they need to do. But for most part, it's like a blocked off period for chow, or we call it chow, but it's lunch. After that, so during that time, after lunch, we got about 15-20 minutes to eat, and we have to run, and we either go to meetings or we're in workouts. So during lunchtime, we have to get our workouts in or eating. So, imagine stuffing your face with food for lunch because you haven't eaten all day just to go and then do a workout for the day. People in the pew, it's tough. So then you finish your workout or meetings, and you go back to class from 1 to about 4:30. And then at 4:30, you leaving, you're going to practice. You get done about 6:30 or 7. We go to dinner. You come back, study hall from about 8 to 10. Then depending on what you're doing, but mind you, all this other stuff is going on. So, and y'all are engineers. I saw that you all are engineers, which that's great. Nice to see fellow engineers, but you also know what comes with that. So, with me doing the robotics, there was a lot of coding and things of that nature. So there were many times where, if you're trying to imagine the setup of a room, right? So we have let's say about a 10 by 10 square room, and there's 3 bunks in there, right? But there's a top bunk with the bed, and then the bottom part is your desk. So there were a lot of nights where, I'd be getting in late from, between practice and doing everything where, I'd be working, and you had your desk light down here. So I would put my blanket in the top of the bed over me so my roommates could sleep, but my lights were still on, and I was in there, doing homework and typing code. Sometimes 4 o'clock. Sometimes I didn't sleep. There were nights I didn't sleep. It's very, very demanding. As a freshman, you can only leave the campus from noon on Sunday until formation, which is about 6 p.m. Other than that, you were confined within the gates. As a sophomore, you can leave Saturday at noon till taps at midnight. And then as a junior, you can leave Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then a senior Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But also when you go out, you're not allowed to stay out unless you get like an overnight pass. So most of your time gets spent on campus. It's very, very restricted. But you get some moments to have fun, but most of all, it's just a lot of, it's very stringent, but it has to be because there's so much responsibility placed on you, because you also have your military leadership stuff. You're going to trainings, you're doing all that on top of still the school, the practice, so it's very demanding. I learned how to fall asleep on command while I was in that place.
So do you think
Wow.
then, from the amount of structure that you had when you were in school, has that been translated to your life now, and how you structure your daily activities, how you structure your business activities, and everything related to that?
Absolutely. I would absolutely agree. The amount of structure that I was introduced to by fire hose, it almost put me to the point where I had no choice but to adapt. But at the time, I couldn't really see the full value in it. I'm like, yeah, this is tough. Like it's nothing. I've dealt with tough stuff my whole life, so it's cool. But it took until really probably about, let's say, 4 to 6 months ago for me to really sit back and like, oh, whoa, that's the skill that I gained from that. That's how that helped me. But it does. I mean, like, even from just the ability to organize and structure and plan, my military service, hats off to I've planned some crazy things. And the amount of logistics and planning, coordination that goes there in high stress environments where, you're on a timeline and you have no choice but to get it done. It kind of breeds that same mentality into me with anything. It's like, what's the mission? And I'm gonna get it done. I'm a Marine. I don't come back until it's figured out. And that helps me. I get up, my days are structured. Like I try to organize. I use an app called Trello. I build all my tasks out, and then my tasks get turned into time slots on my calendar. So on my Google Calendar, so now my productivity, like one of the things I was really like, yo, how do you become more productive? And like, there's courses, me and my partners, Trust and Tell, we were taking courses on productivity, and we started, aggressively implementing everything we were learning because of the military background. So there's times, we force fed so much information so fast, and you have to figure out how to understand it, learn it, apply it, and teach it very quickly. And so it's just the same principle here. And organization and structure just makes things so much easier in the long run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, this is real. And I'm so amazed how, again, all these like crucial skills that you learn from your background, they're so translatable. And then you can just expedite your whole success project if you stick, or your success journey, if you can just stick to these basics. Not many people understand that. They want to try to do some fancy schmancy. No, stick to basics. I know, again, Sean and Zach, we know this. We just asked a question in our Discord the other day. What are your top 3 most used apps, right? And one of the things that I just have, like the reminders, notes, calendar, stick to those 3, use it well. You don't need any fancy schmancy. No, stick to those, use it well, and optimize it. So absolutely love that, my guy. And, one question I had, I'm going to kind of backtrack a little bit, because it seems like, again, when you defined maybe a little more of your purpose with personal finance, you already had a really good framework, because, again, I can completely relate to this, where you probably understood how you shouldn't be blowing your money. But how can you now be best utilizing your money to maybe grow for you? That's something that you didn't maybe understand at that time, which is perfectly fine. I didn't understand that at my time either, right? But we were very curious, and we wanted to get those questions answered, right? And then you had that curiosity, you had that drive. I'm going to get these questions answered, and now you can kind of see how that's blossomed for you. And I think that's a beautiful. And I just want to touch on that before I ask one of my next questions, because I can completely relate to that. I love that, Eric. So one of my next questions is, kind of that area right before, or maybe even a little after, In the Smoker was created. And I can speak from personal experience with FLI, even like this last summer, 2022. Just like, what was your entrepreneurial journey within the Smoker? And it's kind of like a subset of questions, because one of the questions is this your main job, or do you have something else that you're doing that maybe you utilize your degree for, or you're doing something completely different? Is In the Smoker a side hustle, right? And, whatever In the Smoker is, side hustle or full-time, that limbo area before things got like solid, or things started maybe taking off, were you doubting yourself? Were you like, am I fit to do this? Maybe you were putting in so much work, but not seeing that much fruit of that labor just yet. And it's like, man, when am I going to start to see some of this fruit, right? So again, I can re-ask my question if that was confusing, but I think that's just something that I'm so curious how you navigated that journey. Because even me, how I did it this last summer, there's things in Sean and Zach don't even fully know. That's just like, you put in that kind of effort, and it's like, when am I going to start to see some of that fruit? But then after you go long-term into it's a long-term play, like an investment, you start to see some of that fruit, right? So what was that journey like for you? And, what is In the Smoker to you? Is it a full-time? Is it a side hustle?
So first answer to the first question is In the Smoker is the only thing for me besides the In the Smoker Commander Lifestyle. That's
awesome.
it. So
That's awesome.
this is full time. I've definitely dedicated myself to this because I know that there's a need and it's important. And so I will continue to push the message and do stuff like this, and we will continue to see In the Smoker running around. So we ain't got to worry about that. Now the journey was very different. So starting out, when I really decided I want to turn this into a business and take it seriously, it was tough because I started, posting on social media, doing things like people were actually writing, laughing, joking, oh, why are you putting this out here? I dealt with a lot of hate and discouragement, and made it tough. It was like, wow, did I make the right decision? Is this the right thing? Like I thought that this would be something valuable, but why is it being received like this? And I ended up having a kind of a conversation with myself saying, it's impossible for someone to see my vision when I didn't make the vision happen yet. So because of that, I kept pushing. And, throughout time, it's crazy now because I've had moments where some of the people that did laugh at me were calling me to ask me for financial help. And so that, for me, that taught me the power of consistency. And one of the first books I read was The Compound Effect when I started doing business, and that along with me just continuing to see the daily grind, the results, it's just like compound interest. Every day that I'm working towards the vision, more is building, and it's just like a bank account. I don't need to see it. It's your fund that's somewhere that your money's just going to every day, and one day, somebody's gonna tell you need to cash out. So I'm investing into myself, the brand and the vision, because through investing in that, I'm investing in the people I care about, because I believe in what I'm doing, and I know what I'm doing is helping people. So I have to continue seeing it through. And I think that as an entrepreneur, as a person with a regular job, it doesn't matter what it is, whatever your vision is, if you want to fill a specific position within your job or your firm, it can be done. But how consistent are you going to be with being disciplined and doing the things that need to be done? Because you can have a vision all day, but there's also actions that need to be taken in order to make it happen. So with that being said, kind of continuing on to the to the journey now is, I enjoy being able to make such an impact on people through doing this stuff. One of the best feelings, which I'm sure y'all can relate to, one of the best feelings you have as a financial coach is when you have someone that you work with, and you might have worked with them a while ago, contact you and let you know that they're debt free, and how much now they can see how free they feel.
No, that's beautiful.
So it's like, yo, how do we do this on a bigger scale faster right now? It's like, how do we get more people to understand what this side of life feels like?
No, that, man, and I'm so excited because I know you and we have to have a good offline conversation because there's so many parallels. I'm excited to hear more about, your journey. But there's something you hit on, right? Where you had a vision that rarely anybody can ever see until it's actually maybe executed on. But you knew what you wanted to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's very interesting because I love telling this story when I tell people, what was the mission behind FLI? What's the story? Even though again, Sean, it was his intellectual property baby, right? But it was all of us who made it grow, which is a beautiful thing. But even just like the personal reason or the personal struggle to try to explain that vision to other people when maybe FLI isn't where we want it to be just yet, which is fine. That's the natural growth of business, right? But it's so interesting because I love telling people, and I know you can relate to this, I can just tell, where it's like you try to explain what your vision is. And maybe in the moment, this person's super excited, or you're just putting it on to let's put aside the vision. Let's talk about the financial game. Because you talked about this, how you put some of your boys on back in the day, where you'd be telling them all the upside to maybe investing or paying off debt, and they're like, I don't got time for it, I don't care, it doesn't apply to me, I'll worry about that later, right? And it's like, my guy, look, I'll show you my numbers, Roth IRA, maxing out your 401k, paying off your credit cards, right? But it's like, it's so interesting because I realized two things from that. Number one, they don't have the vision or the passion like we do. They don't have that vision, which that's something that we can't change. That's I like to give the analogy. If someone told me, Yinka, you need to play guitar, like it's such a beautiful thing, how many things you'll learn from guitar. In the moment, I might be like, oh man, that sounds really good. And then they reach out back to me a month later. Oh, Yinka, did you ever watch that YouTube video I put you onto about guitar? I didn't get around to it. Why? It's not my priority. I don't really care, right? So I can understand that's not somebody that they don't really care about that. But then the second thing I learned is that, okay, we can't change their purpose or their passion, their vision, but what can we change as a business or an individual, right? It's the credibility. And that's something that, in the Smoker and FLI, we've built some sort of credibility from ourselves now that you just said, those same people who were laughing at you a couple years back and now are like, Eric, my guy, can you tell me how to open up a Roth IRA? It's like, my guy, I told you this a while back. Bro, I tried to put you on with Eric Johnson a year ago, and now he's on the podcast. Bro, I tried, my guy. You know what I'm saying? So obviously we still help them. But it's such an interesting thing that, again, you put in that work, you'll see the results. But no, it's like the iceberg effect. Nobody ever cares or sees what's underneath the water. All they see is what's above the water. And I just love that parallel. And I can absolutely, I'm very thankful that someone like you persist and now you're helping people. You're doing this thing. And even though many people might not understand it, they're going to understand it in the future when they see my guy Eric balling out. And it's like, oh man, I should have listened to him back in the day when he was on the Financial Literacy Institute podcast. You know what I'm saying? So, man, no, this is a beautiful thing. And I'm excited you shared that journey. And one question I had for you too was on your mission, on this journey, in that kind of limbo area where you were building in the Smoker, but prior to it maybe getting to a really solid foundation, did you have, a mentor or a group of mentors to maybe guide you or even help you in that mental area? Because the reason, again, I asked this, and I can just see we have a lot of parallels, is that's something I kind of struggle with, was where, like, again, questioning myself. Oh, am I fit to do this? People are questioning, Yinka, are you sure you should be doing this? Are you sure this is the right choice? But then it's like, if you have someone in your corner who's like, hey, Yinka, if you believe in yourself, I believe in you that you believe in yourself, right? Did you have that good kind of counsel that was friends, family, or mentors to kind of guide you through that journey?
I didn't. Like my mom's always been supportive of the business, telling she's very supportive of what I do. I'd say as far as a mentorship, no. I have, but what I have had is, so my partners, Trusts and Tellers, they also live in the same area, and they had their real estate company booming, mortgages, they're flipping houses, all these things. So they were doing their own thing, but what I had was, because they were in motion, it made me continue to want to be in motion. And that's why, we talk about so much about why your circle is so important, is because through them being so active and getting things done so much, it drove me to find ways to get active and do things, much better, because I knew that I didn't have a mentor, and I knew that being a mentor is something you should have. It's like a coach, a mentor, whatever, is something that's necessary. However, there's two options you have when you get to that point. Option one is where you stop because you feel, no one's here to guide me, so I don't know what I'm doing. And you're like, well, never mind then. And you kind of just quit and let it fizzle out. And then you have the other option, which is that, well, I can't control whether or not I get a mentor, so I got to figure it out. And that's kind of the way it went. Like I tell you right now that in the Smoker, the way everything is today is not where I saw it, a couple years ago. And it's things have developed and changed over time as I've learned. And I think that's one of the most important things for people to understand, is that you're never going to have it completely right when you first start. But we spend so much time trying to get it completely right when we first start. And because of that, we waste precious time that we could have gained by getting it, figure out what you just figuring out what you need to do to press go. And you learn as you go, because there's certain things that you learn in a situation that a textbook could never teach you. And that's how as you continue in life, you end up getting to the point where you meet this guy who can look at something in 5 seconds and say, oh, well, did you think about this? Did you do this? And you're like, oh, how does he know this? And it's like, it's because he's got reps at it for 15 years. You don't just learn this from reading it in a book. And that is whatever it is, whether it's personal finance, even if you got to work because I'm a huge supporter of not, working a 9 to 5. I don't think everybody should quit their 9 to 5 to go do other things. I just think that you can structure yourself financially on the personal side so that you can actually go work your 9 to 5 and enjoy it and not have to depend on them for surviving. And that's a different mentality. But, I lost my train of thought there. I ain't even going to continue. I was going.
No, you're good.
Though. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're good. I'll pick it up. No, this is good, and I appreciate you because again, even the fact that you stuck through it and you had people like your mom, your partners, it's a beautiful thing to have other people support you along that journey because that's a crucial journey that an entrepreneur, if he or she's not surrounded by good counsel, they could just crumble or just stop. And again, now that's something that they didn't maybe continue or come to fruition, which is now, even though they're not maybe thinking about it like this, that's going to be that's not going to be benefiting the people that if they would have continued, that it would have benefited them. I don't know if that made sense, but like if someone stopped their purpose or stopped doing what they thought that was, there was purpose, or that was their purpose, or that was their vision, if they stopped it because people told them to, or they were questioning themselves, whatever, something didn't come to fruition, which didn't now bear fruit for not only themselves to, feed on, but also to their market or to the people to serve. You know what I'm saying? So I'm very grateful that people like you, just guys again like Sean, Zach, and I, we did go through that entrepreneurial journey. Maybe we were questioning ourselves. We were saying, why are we doing this? Why are people saying that? We're trying to handle all this good, valuable information, but people aren't taking it very well. But it's like, hey, every single day they don't understand it, and that's fine. But now you push through it, you see some fruit, and now you get those people like, wow, thank you, Eric, for dropping that gem on social media. Thank you, Eric, because now I've been debt free. Thank you, Eric. I'm consistently investing $500 in my Roth IRA every single month. Those are the things, like that's what we're working for. And I just want to give you my thanks and my appreciation that you pushed through that, because I know again we're all in the same niche. We've all been through that, so we appreciate you, Eric.
And it's tough. And now it's a good thing y'all had each other as well, because there are those dark times where you do ask like, yo, is this worth it? Why am I continuing to put myself through this because another big thing about this life is that I mean, for all intents and purposes, I mean, it's not, you're not guaranteed security, right? You're not guaranteed clients. You're not guaranteed anything. Right. So there's a level of risk associated with it that I think until you get in it, you don't truly understand what it feels like. And once you're in it, it's like, oh man, this is it. Who are you going through this too? And it's when you find somebody else has been through it, it's almost like a badge of honor. Like, yo, here
that's
you go.
Why I like this call right now. That's why I like this call right now.
Because one of the things we used to say in the military is misery breeds company, and it's true, because we've been in some extremely uncomfortable situations, but you shared that experience with people, and within a terrible situation, you find a way to like enjoy it. And it's the same thing, because it's just any bad situation is just a moment in time, right? If we break our lives down on a linear scale and look at it, most of it's going to be positive, hopefully, for most people, right? Like we fixate on the one little negative thing. And it's the same thing with business, with our finances. Things might be going, especially when you're just getting started with say you get dealing with debt, like our clients dealing with debt. It's like, oh, I made one mistake and it derails all of their progress. And like, yo, you made a mistake one day. What about the other 60 days that you didn't? And it's just being able to think about life in that perspective, because it changes things. Like it helps even with me, because there's days where I'm like, man, I don't. And then it's like, one, what else am I going to do? But two, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, no,
it's gonna be okay.
I love that. Okay. Yeah, no, this is beautiful. And again, I'm excited to kind of see, where actually this will be a question right now. And again, I appreciate all the background. And yes, you just mentioned when you can kind of talk to someone or live through vicariously, not even, but when you can relate to someone who's also done something that you've done that's been super hard. Again, that's what I just said. That's why I love that we're having this conversation. I'm excited to have a conversation and get offline. My question is, what is your vision for In the Smoker in the near future? Like, what do you see? Because I know, again, you have your coaching, you have your merch, you have your social media, you have your ebook, you have your partners, right? What is the goal, or what is a future goal from what you can share, what you'd like to share? What is the goal, or what is the future goal with In the Smoker? What's your vision?
Oh man, so there's a lot. So I'm also John Maxwell certified, certified leadership team member. So I'm in public speaking. I also train like staffs and individuals on leadership and mental growth and development. So definitely looking to get more speaking engagements this year for sure. And then also I actually just had a meeting today. So I've been networking and getting into the city of Jacksonville, where I live. And I'm actually In the Smoker is going to be providing some financial courses, supported by the city of Jacksonville for the people of Jacksonville. Is what, so the people are coming in, they have everybody in the ranges from, they might have $200 in their account total, to people who you know, have money, but they're also in debt and don't really know how to get out of it, to people who already got some money and then maybe they're trying to buy a house. And then, we also have people that like, hey, how do I do more? So speaking with them today, like one of the programs that I'm working with them to implement right now is a mindset training for the city. So in regards to finance, because I truly believe that until we are able to impact the mindset of someone, we're not going to be able to change. Like, they can sit through class after class, which they do, but we see that they continually have the same actions. So the only way to do it is to really put them in situations where they can address the mindset that's allowing them to continue making, progress, inhibiting decisions.
Yeah.
So, that I also have a new book getting ready to come out. It's called Escaping Survival Mode, a young adult's guide to becoming debt free. So that one coming out as well. But really right now, really network trying to get, I've been working networking with schools. So I'm trying to also start putting together some programs to go start teaching like personal finance and leadership and things of that nature at Title I schools, and then growing from there.
Okay. No, this is good. And man, there's just so many layers. And Eric, this is stellar. If we had multiple hours, I would love to continue this conversation. And that's
I got time. Hey, I'm on y'all time. But I got time. If y'all got time.
We'll do again after the call. You and I, maybe we can set something up if you have some time, maybe on the weekend, because I would love to continue the conversation, even one-on-one. And Zach and Sean want to tap, and they most definitely can. But this is something. Yeah, 100%, 100%. This is something that even, Zach, Sean, and I were thinking about the vision of F-Line, where we want to take it, how we want to scale, and the more people that we can serve ultimately, right? So even just hearing these things, it's amazing to be in this niche with other people who are as passionate and want to make this change. So again, I'm just extending my thanks to you, Eric. You're killing it. I'm excited to see, again, where In the Smoker goes. I want to get to know you more, again, offline. And prior to wrapping up this call, I want to ask you again just 3 rapid fire questions. The 3 questions we ask everybody. First one being, it's the start of 2023. Well, I guess it's already the middle of February. But this is one of my first podcasts, I think, one of my first podcasts in this new year, because I've been just super busy with school. I don't know if you already know, I'm a biomedical engineer, graduate in May. Super excited to get out of here, but been super busy. Appreciate Sean and Zach for grinding out the podcast, these last couple of podcasts. But, we're 2 months in, 2.5 or 1.5 months into the new year. What is one goal you're looking forward to, whether it's personal, whether it's business, whatever that may be? What is one personal goal you're looking for? Maybe your biggest goal, again, from what you feel comfortable sharing, that you're looking forward to executing on this year?
I'd say one of my biggest goals for the year is establishing a footprint within the city of Jacksonville.
That's beautiful.
So that's one of my big goals that I want to do to start with, because I live here, and
that's beautiful.
Impact. I feel like I have if I really want to do this, then I have some type of obligation to try to also impact my community that I'm staying in. So but also too, like, at the end of the day, I'm also a businessman, so there's also opportunity there. Like, through me doing that, there's support that can be gained, and you meet people and you're able to do more things. And at the end of the day, that's all it's about. Like, I'm trying to, the more people I can impact and the more important people I can allow to see the impact that In the Smoker has, the more opportunity is there. But not only for me, but every door I open up is a door that I open up for me and everybody I care about. So I don't make any decision lightly, and I don't do it just for myself. So any opportunity that I go after is something that I think can benefit me and everybody around me. So that's why this city thing is so big, because there's so much that could come out of it for people that I care about around here.
Yeah, no, that's true selflessness. And I love that you said that obligation piece, because again, from where you were raised or where you grew up to make it in your definition, but then to bring it back to the same city that raised you, right? Because it takes a village to raise a child. But now that same child has made it, and now is bringing back to that village. And I love it. That's a beautiful duty and obligation that you're looking forward to execute on. And again, getting to know you more, I wanted to see where that goes. So that's a beautiful goal you're looking to execute on this year. I appreciate you sharing that. One of my next questions is, you already mentioned just a fire book, The Compound Effect. That's one of my top 5 books. I love that book. Whether it's that book or another book, what is that one book, financial, non-financial? What is that one book that everybody should be reading?
The Compound Effect is definitely top 2 and it might not
Okay.
be number two. It might not be number two. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
What's the other one?
So that's hard, man. I have if I had to pick one, I'd say, what's the
You know the color of the cover.
no, actually
He's got it on deck. He's got it on deck.
I got it. Let me somewhere.
You're good. You're good.
I don't know why I'm having a blank right now.
By chance, is it like Millionaire Next Door, Rich Dad Poor Dad?
The obstacle is the way. That's
The
the other one.
obstacle is the way. Okay.
The obstacle is the way. As a matter of fact, yep, I told you I got it somewhere near me, right here.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's good.
this is another really good one. So for someone who's really trying to make a change for themselves and like learn how to overcome these, things that are holding them back, the compound effect is going to teach you, for one, how to build a habit, how to be disciplined in the small things and practice discipline in the small things, whether it's making sure the dishes are washed every day or making your bed every day. It's not about making the bed. It's about being disciplined enough to do it because it needs to be done. And the same thing with finances. And then, the obstacle is the way. It's talking you through a process of how to overcome obstacles, because no matter what, we're gonna encounter obstacles, right? It's a part of life. But obstacles do two things. They're either going to stop us or you're going to find a way to get around it. And me as a combat engineer, we breach obstacles. So that's kind of just my mindset automatically. Like an obstacle, it's great. And it talks about, one of the things it talks about was how John D. Rockefeller became so, I say it was Rockefeller became so rich, and it was because he found opportunity in the times that other people saw famine, and it's like, wow, so same thing, obstacle for most people is that, a mini version of famine. Like, oh my God, what's going on? How do you respond to it? And this is a book that helps you, helps get you on that thought process of how to respond to obstacles. So those are the two
100%.
for sure that I would recommend to anybody starting out.
Mm-hmm. No, again, and amazing parallels or commonalities in that book, be it tenacity, grit, resiliency, and I love that because again, like I mentioned, compound effect. That's one of my favorite books. You put in that kind of work, you go through that obstacle, even though it might not look good in the moment. You continue through it. You are tenacious through it. You will see the fruit. And I try to tell people because I've seen it on my kind of level, on our kind of level, the FLI. Like I've seen it. And I again, you've seen it. It's amazing. I appreciate you sharing those two books. Again, guys, if you heard those two books, the obstacle is the way, and then the compound effect, beautiful books. You guys got to tap into that. And then my last question for you, Eric, the most fun one of all, right, is where can our listeners find you? Because again, I can already tell there's so many listeners who are like, oh man, Eric, yeah, he's got the juice. He's got it. I gotta connect. I gotta connect with Eric. How can our listeners connect with you? Personal, business. How can they find you?
So you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at In The Smoker, INTHE Smoker. You're right there. TikTok, I'm at In The Smoker as well. You can, my website is just www.inthesmoker.com. And then if you want to check out my podcast, it's called The Finance Bruh. And it's really just it's where we have real conversations with real people about money. And we talk about everything there. And it ties back to something you said at the beginning of the show, where you said that, you see me tap into everything from fitness to food to all these things. And it's because one of my perspective on life and on money is that money touches every aspect of our life. So whether it's fitness, you can tie it to so many different things. Let's say you decide that you want to get fit and get healthy. Well, now you're not buying all the extra snacks in the grocery store, which lowers your grocery bill. Now, not only do you get healthier, but you also save money. Like then you talk about it taps relationships. Right? If you have friends, if you have friends that are, constantly pulling you in the wrong direction and you can't get ahead, well, you're going to continue losing money and digging yourself in a deeper hole. But on the opposite, if you got people who are good for you, you're probably going to bring in an abundance, so it can tie into so many different aspects. And that's what I like to talk about, because all these other aspects are going to affect the money more than me telling you what to put on the spreadsheet any day.
Yeah. No, that's real. Like, man, I'm excited for when we could talk, my guy. I like to say that like money isn't everything, but yet everything is related to money. It's very interesting. Like money is not everything, but everything that you touch, that you're related to, that you talk to, that you consume, whatever, it's related to money. It's very interesting, right? So the more of those factors you can get on point, a byproduct of a lot of those things is higher wealth. And again, mind you, obviously wealth is defined in multiple different areas more than just monetary. But yes, this is one of the biggest ones, and I can completely agree to that, Eric. And man, I mean, again, I already knew before this started that the conversation was going to be absolute gas. I appreciate you, my guy. Again, I know you are a busy man. We want to respect your time. My guy, you are stellar. I'm excited again. I would love to set up a meeting, offline. I want to get to know you more. And again, I appreciate you. Zach, Sean, do you have any last final words?
Yeah, Eric, we appreciate you taking the time to join us. This was a great episode, and everything that you shared not only will benefit all of us, but also our listeners. And also, thank you for your service to our country.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yep. Eric, thank you for your service. Thank you for your time. Really hope anyone listening got some value of what you had to say tonight. Thanks.
Hey, thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
And
sir. Yes, sir.
I definitely want to get you guys on the show as well, so we can definitely set that up.
That'd be
I
awesome.
think it's a great
That'd be
combo.
awesome.
We just bounce it. We can bounce the same thing. We just move it over to the other side now.
Of
you know,
course,
so,
of course. Let's do
that's
it.
all it's about. Definitely all about helping spread, share each other's brands and grow. Because like I said in the beginning of the show too, like we grow faster together.
That's facts. Yeah. No, 100%. We'll definitely be talking about this again right after we end up today's podcast. But yeah, my guy, we appreciate you. We're looking forward to seeing all the growth. We're looking forward to kind of even seeing you in the future on the podcast after all the growth has happened, even more growth to come. But my guy, we appreciate you. We appreciate your time. And again, this was On the Fly Podcast, a Financial Literacy Institute podcast. Thank you.